What's up, guys? Today is the day. Today is, of course, Tuesday, and this is the day that we kind of suspected we were going to get some information on the X because GM has teased it a couple times throughout the previous week. So today we get it, and here it is. It is, in fact, the ZR1X. We talked about this on the live video last night about the possibilities of what was coming, and sure enough, this is what everybody kind of thought the Zora car was going to be. This is the ZR1 power plant with the E-Ray motor up front. It is slightly different, creating a little bit more horsepower than the E-Ray does from the front motor to thus give this car a beautiful 1250 horsepower. Yeah, 1250.
You really have to feel the acceleration and the cornering in this car. The throwback feeling in the seat at full throttle is just unbelievable. It truly is the pinnacle of Corvette. What we're introducing is the ZR1X, the most powerful car we've ever produced, the quickest Corvette ever at 1250 horsepower, taking front axle electrification, pairing that with the LT7 engine, truly has turned this into our first hypercar.
The way this car propels, the way it launches, the 0 to 60, unbelievable. Under 2 seconds, under 9 seconds in the quarter mile. These are numbers that you can't even imagine from a production car.
But it takes the architectural elements from both the E-Ray and the ZR1 and combines those into one car.
The goal of the all-wheel drive technology in the ZR1X is to really push the envelope of the Corvette and what we're capable of.
The ZR1X just adds that confidence of the front axle and all-wheel drive torque capability.
ZR1X makes you feel like you're getting into the cockpit of a fighter jet. There's so much information available in front of you. Configure the system and set it up to give you the most critical information that you're interested in seeing for whatever type of driving you're doing.
The ZR1X takes both the amazing performance, acceleration, track capability, fun-to-drive aspect, but then adds the element of being able to take that car and transform it into an everyday driver.
For a car of this caliber to be able to do each of these things so well is really an amazing testament to the technology that's involved in the car.
The ZR1X is the brand new hypercar to the Chevy brand. We're now elevated into a whole new category with a car that is truly going to shock the world.
Now, where things get really crazy is whenever we scroll down on the website a little bit here, you can see that this thing is actually going to do 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. Under 2 seconds. We thought the 2.2 that the ZR1 was putting down was wild. This is going to be under 2, and the quarter mile is going to be done in under 9. Literally under 9 seconds. What a fantastic time to be a car guy. I mean, this is insane. This is stuff that was reserved for absolute crazy horsepower builds in the past, and now you can get it with a warranty. So obviously it is the all-wheel drive technology from the E-Ray, very similar kind of setup. Obviously all these wheels are going to be spinning. They're all going to be putting power to the ground, and it is called the ZR1X. So X marks the spot, and it is implying in this case all-wheel drive. Now, if you guys were following the channel and following anything that Rick Conti had talked about in the past, this was originally going to be called a ZR1E. That's what it showed in the system for quite some time, and that kind of implies the same sort of thing. But I think GM specifically shied away from the E version of this just because E-Ray sales haven't been fantastic, and I don't think they wanted people to think that this car was going to be fully electric, which a lot of people still believe the E-Ray is. So I think going with the X on this was a marketing idea, and I think it was something they changed kind of pretty late in the game. Anyway, if we scroll down a little bit more here, we can see more information, and of course it's talking about the ZR1X being a hybrid all-wheel drive technology, all the stuff that we kind of already know on that front. Now, Josh Holder here saying the ZR1X brings learnings from the ZR1 and the E-Ray to create an unmatched driving experience. Keep scrolling down. This car is obviously still going to be able to be bought without the high wings, so you don't necessarily have to get the ZTK package for it, which again is pretty surprising with this amount of horsepower. The performance here is, of course, a turbocharged LT7 engine and electric front drive working in harmony, delivering unrelenting power and instant torque. With the advanced E all-wheel drive technology, the ZR1X offers precision handling for ultimate driver confidence, elevating Corvette to the next level as a true American hypercar. Now, obviously in the past, we've seen the Lamborghini Revolto do around 1,000 horsepower with both an internal combustion engine and a hybrid setup. GM showed that they can do that with the ZR1 without a hybrid setup. So they did 1,064 with just pure internal combustion engine setup. Now they're going to kind of rub it in Lamborghini's face a little bit and say, hey, here's our version of the hybrid setup where you can make 1,250 horsepower. So again, very similar setup to the E-Ray here with the electric drive unit, the battery stored in the same place right in that center tunnel. And of course, transmission and everything looks to be pretty much the same as the ZR1. The engine looks identical. The only real difference, of course, is going to be that hybrid upfront motor, really creating the extra power and the all-wheel drive setup. In this situation, it looks like the additional 186 horsepower is coming from the electric drive unit, whereas with the E-Ray, it was only 160. So they did manage to squeeze out a little bit more horsepower out of the hybrid motor, just like we talked about on the live video last night. GM was going to do something like that to make a little bit more power out of that. I had actually heard it was going to be a little bit more than this, but nonetheless, it is actually more than the E-Ray motor puts out. 1,250 horsepower, of course, is nothing to scoff at. Neither was 1,064, but we just keep piling on, it seems. Scrolling down some more, we do get the ultimate stopping power here. This is something we talked about on the live video last night as well, where suddenly it started to make a lot of sense that the 10-piston calipers were going to be available on the 2026 and they weren't available on the 2025. This is the reason. We have a lot of extra horsepower, thus requiring slightly larger calipers and braking systems for quicker stopping power due to the extra weight of the E-Ray motor and, of course, the 1,250 horsepower. So the 10-piston calipers that are going to be available in the 2026 are really there for the ZR1X. They're there to help with the extra weight and the extra horsepower of the car, of course. This is why it wasn't an option on the 2025s. Now, of course, everybody's wondering why this isn't called the Zora. I'm one of them, because initially the leak of this car was done very early on in around 2019 is whenever the leaks of the whole C8 Corvette lineup came out. And this is basically the Zora. This is what was shown to be the Zora. Now, of course, plans changed. 2019 was a long time ago, so I think now the Zora model is going to be reserved for something even bigger. We are only at the 2025, 2026 model year, and the C8 Corvette is very likely to span all the way up to 29 or 30. So there's going to have to be additional models released between now and then. One of them is likely to be a Zora. Fingers crossed that it's not a full electric version, because that's kind of what it looks like we're leaning into, but hopefully not. The stealth mode on this ZR1X actually allows you to use the stealth mode for a quiet departure. This feature allows you to drive solely using electric power for 4 to 5 miles at speeds up to 45 miles per hour. I believe that's the same as the E-Ray. Scrolling over, we get some more information on how these two units are going to actually work in the car. We can see that Sebring orange car, of course, is a ZR1X, and you can very clearly tell just by looking at the wheels that this is a version that has the 10-piston caliper up front and 6-piston in the rear. Odds are very good if you check that X box, you are going to get that particular braking setup whether you want it or not. The extra power and the extra weight of that car is going to demand those calipers are added onto it. It does say you can experience a dynamic driving transition from electric only to full twin turbo V8E all-wheel drive propulsion, very similar to the E-Ray again. Start your drive in electric only stealth mode, heavily press the throttle, and hang on while you unleash over 1,200 horsepower. So very similar to the E-Ray, they're only a lot more horsepower. Scrolling down some more, we actually get the ability to take a look at this thing in all angles, and of course nothing really looks any different outside of the fact that you can see an X beside the ZR1, and of course the bigger 10-piston front calipers, 6-piston rear calipers. Even in this little animation here, that's what you're going to get. Now obviously the interior is going to be the new updated 2026 interior, so you're going to get all of the 2026 changes with this car as well. So this is really the car that most drag strip goers are going to want. I'm going to kind of reserve judgment until I see what the full weight of this car would be, considering that E-Ray engine is going to add a lot of extra weight, and the ZR1 in general added some weight over the Z06, so we'll see what that actually ends up coming out to. Regardless, 1,250 horsepower, the weight almost doesn't matter at that point. almost. Now, the aerodynamics of the car stay pretty much the same because we have, of course, the giant wing and the hood pass-through that we have on the ZR1, so pretty much all of that is the same as the ZR1. The side inlets, the carbon fiber components, they talk about all this stuff down here, but it's not really new. This is all just ZR1 stuff. Where things actually got pretty interesting is the look of this ZR1X carbon fiber aero package picture here. The black and red, that looks pretty cool together. Obviously, that's the asymmetrical interior, and it's interesting in this particular picture. I thought it was pretty nice. But scrolling down again, of course, you get some more pictures that pretty much could just be the ZR1 if you didn't know any better, and that's pretty much it. There's not really a whole lot else here that is specific to the ZR1X outside of the fact that, yeah, you are getting that front axle control and 1250 horsepower. So we kind of suspected that this was likely to be what we were getting today. It was going to most likely be the quote-unquote Zora, but it's going to be rebranded, of course, to that ZR1X, and that's it. So it does look like this is going to be available in late 2025 based on what the picture shows here. So the 2026 ZR1 will be getting pumped out, and of course you will have the option to check that X box if you want. So there it is, guys. If any of you were wondering exactly what the X is, it's basically the Zora. That's ultimately what it comes down to. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it. Smash the thumbs up button if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always, stay obsessed.